Hey guys, it's Marshall Tingle with your Superior Ag Insurance Ringside Report for this past week, the week of March 26th through April 1st. So, we had a pretty busy week across the state of Kentucky as far as your auction markets are concerned. A pretty big run, just about 2 heads shy of 23,000 head of cattle got sold this past week. Now, what do I think is influencing this? It's up drastically. Well, it's up about 1,200 to 1,500 head than what we have been seeing, but I think the biggest thing that we're seeing differently this year, or at least this spring, is this lightweight cattle market and this feeder cattle market as a whole is so much higher. Nobody's holding these cattle back. Seeing a world of 3 weights, 4 weights, even some 2 weight cattle that normally would be held back to 5, 6, and even light 7s. People are just going ahead and bringing them to town just because they're dollaring up so nicely right now. So that's the biggest thing that I'm seeing. Now, what am I seeing differently in the market this past week? As far as your feeder market's concerned, I want to call it just a hair more spotty. You're starting to see a little bit more selectivity in some of these things. You're seeing a quality range in some of these things, and that's kind of giving you your variable rate right now. So this USDA called it unevenly steady. I won't call it spotty. They called it anywhere from 4 lower to 4 higher, with the exceptions of $10 higher on the high sides. You're seeing some of these $10 high sides, and if they're sure enough weaned up, preconditioned up, ready to go. But like I said, the rest of the balance, I'm just going to call it pretty much spotty on your feeder cattle. We did see more yearlings this past week. They didn't have a trend on the yearlings, but I'm telling you, we saw more 8 weights this week than what we have seen the past 2 weeks, and the market on them is pretty good. So let's talk about this real fast. So your 4 weight steer cattle, the range on these things is pretty drastic. I'm going to give you an average, and then I'm going to give you a high. So your 4 weight steers, you're looking at $230 to $240 is going to be your average on a 4 weight steer. They're going to top off at $267.5. 5 weight steer cattle, I'm going to put them right about that 220 mark. Just about everywhere that you're going, on an average, 220 is going to catch a 5 weight steer. Now, there's going to be several higher, but it's just as a general average, 220 on a 5 weight steer is about where we're setting. Now, the top on them, actually, this week is right at 266. So that's going to be selling right up there on the 4 weights. And like I said, if you're seeing them that high, they're sure enough the flesh is right on them, the conditions right on them, they're weaned up, ready to just turn out on grass and forget about them. Because you've got to remember right now, this weather can be detrimental to your herd health. I mean, they're coming right off their cows, right off their mamas, high stress situation. If they don't have some sort of an immune system background or a little bit of hardness to them, they're just going to melt. And I think that's where you're seeing some of your spottiness from, is some of these unweaned calves are coming to town, or just balling calves with more flesh and condition on them. They're just likely to stress out and lose some more and be harder to go ahead and get started. Now let's talk about what your 8 weights are doing. So like I said, more 8 weights this past week than what we have been seeing. The highs on these are extremely high. Check these out. Here's 64 head of them. These are black steers, 801 pounds on the average. You're looking at 196.75 on them, which is an extremely strong trade on those. They come first of the week and are actually higher than the CME Feeder Cattle Index by quite some bit. Now here's your mid-8s. Here's 61 head of blacks, 847 pounds on these steer cattle, 190.50. Now we're getting back to more of the norm that what we're expecting to see, and closer to your CME Feeder Cattle Index. Now here's a big set of heavies. Now here's 66 head of them. This is just a hair heavier. There really wasn't anything on the heavy side of 8s that was black that we could compare to. 66 head of these are all blacks, 854 pounds on the average on these, $1.88. So still flirting right there at that $1.90 mark, like what we're expecting. Now there were a lot of cattle traded this past week in the low to mid $1.80s, and that's kind of what the norm is. These right here have been exceptionally high, but if anything's got a sprinkle and a color to them, or just the flesh just isn't right on them, there are a little bit difference on them, and that's just kind of what you're seeing there. So here's another set. Let's talk about what your CME Feeder Cattle Index is doing for the week. Your CME Feeder Cattle Index has been pretty steady. It took a little bit of an upturn on the back half of the week, but the first half was pretty steady. So your CME Feeder Cattle Index for the week, Monday the 27th, 191.34. By the time we get down here to Tuesday the 28th, 191.27, and then we close the middle of the week here, the 29th, 192.35. So you're starting to see a little bit of an upturn. Thursday really turned the gas on for the week. Thursday the 30th, that's hard. Thursday the 30th, 193.34. And then close the week actually down just a little bit. Friday the 31st, we're back down to 191.68, which is kind of like where we started the week off at. So that's what's going on in the CME Feeder Cattle Index. That's what's going on in the state. So if you have any questions about a LRP policy, a livestock risk protection policy, now would be a great time to employ that tool to your herd management program. So if you have any questions on a LRP, feel free to reach out to Ian Thomas. That's Ian Thomas at Superior Ag Insurance. Ian Thomas, 859-613-2453. Or check us out on the web, www.superioragins.com. As always, thank you so much. Look forward to talking to you soon.